just like it was Sanu and Sanders last year. Allen Robinson could have company on the trade market this year. And I know this one hasn't gotten there yet, but I'm trying to get ahead of the curve. I believe the Browns should trade Odell Beckham Jr. I believe that things went off the rails for the Browns the moment they acquired Odell Beckham Jr. in that stunning first day of the league year trade in 2019. And so far, in year two, the year that it was supposed to be better, how about 10 targets for 3 catches and 22 yards for Odell Beckham Jr. in the first game against the Ravens? Now, look, it was the Ravens in Baltimore. What were you going to, I mean, what are you going to, but still, if this guy's one of the top receivers in the NFL, Shireen, we need to see more production from Odell Beckham Jr. Let's hear some sound from Odell Beckham Jr. from earlier today on both winning games and producing, neither of which the Browns have been doing much lately.
You have to watch everything you do. Everyone's always watching. You know, if you don't have the same reaction that somebody may like, then a story, a headline, or whatever can be written about you. So, yeah, that's always tough. That's just the position I'm in. I've helped put myself in that position by some mistakes and a lot of by what I did on the field, all of the good things that I feel like we often forget about. But that's just kind of helped put me in this position where the spotlight is always going to be on me, right, wrong, and different. And just know that that's something you got to deal with. I think once I get you all, the world, everyone to understand that I care about one thing, and that's winning and producing, I think that you'll be able to see some of the other actions and look at it from a different perspective than a perspective of a lot of the names and attachments that have been thrown on me in a way.
I have held out hope, Shireen, that Odell Beckham Jr. is maturing to the point where he understands that with fame comes attention, comes scrutiny, and that you can't pick and choose what kind of attention you're going to get. The slogan that I've applied in the past to him and other players is, hey, everybody, look at me. What the hell are you looking at? You can't get upset if people are obsessed with you once you've injected yourself into that stream, that jet stream of fame. And he shouldn't be talking about it at this point. It shouldn't be an issue, and I don't know what question he was asked to get there. But this guy is at a point in his career where he needs to embrace the fact that he's famous. He needs to accept the good and the bad that goes along with it. He needs to understand that this is just the reality of the life that he is leading, and he needs to produce. And 3 catches for 22 yards is not acceptable. Last year, even with the injuries he was dealing with, and he had that groin core muscle hernia. They never quite know what to call it, but he had over 1,000 receiving yards, even though he was plagued with an injury that first popped up during training camp. He's got the potential to be really, really good. I think the problem is teams know if you can take away Odell Beckham Jr., it creates extra stress and dysfunction for that team, and that dysfunction isn't going to go away until Beckham gets traded.
Well, and you go back, Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham have talked about chemistry repeatedly since the Browns acquired him. And they said, oh, it's going to be better this year during the offseason. They worked together. And now they're saying after week 1, oh, it's going to be better. We just need to work on it. This isn't the point to work on it. If it's not good at this point, it's certainly not natural. I just have a hard time seeing them developing any kind of chemistry. So the Browns are in a difficult spot, as are the Bears, because they have a decision to make on Odell Beckham. Can he be the receiver they think he can be, that he was his first 3 seasons in the NFL, or do they need to look elsewhere and move on from him? To me, they spend too much time, Baker Mayfield does, trying to target Odell Beckham when he's not open. I mean, the 10 targets and the 3 catches tell you that from game 1. And yes, it was the Ravens, but they just try to target him way too much. And I think if he's not there, they have so many other weapons. They can spread the ball out. I mean, I would argue they didn't give Nick Chubb enough carries after the first quarter the other day, and they're trying to force the ball into Odell Beckham. And yes, I know they got behind quickly in all of that, but they have so many weapons. I think it's time for them to look elsewhere. And the most damning thing to me is he's played 7 AFC North games, 21 catches, 296 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And we know the AFC North has some really good defenses, at least 2 really good defenses that he plays. but he has not been good in those division games. And that's when you need to be at your best. So I don't see the chemistry coming. I don't see him being good against AFC North teams. I think it's time for the Browns to see what they can get for him. Same deal with Allen Robinson. Wait a while. Come trade deadline, somebody's going to give you something very valuable for Odell Beckham, I would expect.
It's almost laughable when you look at the quote from Baker Mayfield today about it, on the chemistry, the connection, the symbiosis between him and his receiver. I think it has to come naturally. We're working on that. No, no, it has to come naturally. Period. End of statement. Full stop. You can't work on it. It's either there or it's not. And look, Shireen, Baker Mayfield comes to Cleveland, takes the town by storm. He's the new LeBron James. He's everything Johnny Manziel wasn't. That was the fascination of the Browns fan after the 2018 season. So, Freddie Kitchens gets the job. First mistake. Second mistake, you wedge the square peg of Odell Beckham Jr. into the round hole. I think Cleveland isn't big enough for both of those personalities. I think they never properly connected. I think the coaching staff is part of the reason for it. It just didn't work. Beckham wasn't committed to Cleveland. Beckham probably didn't want to be traded to Cleveland. Beckham probably had a bad attitude about it from the get-go, and it all has felt forced. It has never felt natural. What has felt natural is Odell Beckham Jr.'s endless desire to play for the Patriots. You talked earlier about the Patriots being a possible destination for Allen Robinson. I still think the Patriots are a possible destination for Odell Beckham Jr. And now that Cam Newton is there, it makes it even more sensible than it would have been right after Tom Brady left. You know, when Tom Brady left, I thought, well, there goes the OBJ to New England thing, and there goes OBJ to Tampa because they don't need him. They got too many receivers there. But you know what? With Cam Newton looking like the old Cam Newton, I think the door opens up again to New England, because it was clear last year when Beckham talked about the Patriots as they got ready to play New England, that's where he wants to be.
How much would you love to see that too? Cam Newton throwing to Odell Beckham. What a great matchup that way. It would remind me of Tom Brady when the year he had Randy Moss and threw for the 50 touchdowns. It was incredible. And I could see that happening again with Cam Newton if he had Odell Beckham on his team. And you wouldn't have to force the ball into Odell Beckham in New England. It wouldn't be like that. They don't have as many of those big-name weapons who are going to demand the ball like they do in Cleveland. I just think that would be a natural fit for Odell Beckham to go there. And Bill Belichick has shown that he's great with stars like that. He's done it time after time after time, aside from AB last year, the failed experiment after one game. But he does a great job with all those guys he brings in like that, and they seem to excel there when they haven't excelled elsewhere. And it's time for Odell Beckham to go and to be the receiver that he was his first 3 years, because he hadn't looked anything like that since then. And I know there was the injury in there, some questions at quarterback, there's all those things. But he has not lived up to his potential because of all those things. And I think if he goes with a good offensive coordinator in a good offense with a good quarterback, he can be the guy we think he is, which is one of the best receivers in football.
And we never really know what's going on behind the scenes. We base our assessments on the things that we see and hear. And would we be stunned to know that behind the scenes Beckham wants out? Would we be stunned to know that Baker Mayfield would like him to be gone? So Baker can just go back to throw the ball to the open guy. That's what it should be. It should not be force it to Odell Beckham Jr. It shouldn't be the Randy ratio that the Vikings once used to poor outcome. Just throw to the open guy. This extra stress. It's hard enough to play quarterback without having to get the ball to this guy that's going to talk to the media about why I'm not getting him the ball, and then other guys are talking about getting him the ball. No. You just get the ball to the open guy. Go get open. And if one guy is double covered, triple covered, I'm going to throw it to someone else, and I don't want to have to worry about the guy who's double covered complaining about it. And Baker Mayfield needs something, Shireen, because as someone tweeted last night, to significant approval on Twitter, you have been hanging around me too long. I've corrupted you after only one day
Apparently.
on FTPN. The kind of tweet that I would be proud of. Baker Mayfield has more career commercials than he has career wins. And that screenshot was taken when there were only 4.7 thousand likes. The last time I saw it, it had over 24,000, and that was a few hours ago. So you have touched the collective nerve of the American conscious and unconscious with that tweet. So sorry, Baker Mayfield, but something needs to happen to turn that guy's career around.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.